There's a three-man cabal backing Ryan Clark, the distraction. He's not an attraction, he's a distraction. And he creates the right kind of distraction. Ryan Clark is a big, giant symbol sitting in the middle of ESPN that says, hey, we hate white people. And Bob Iger, the head of Disney, he wants that big, giant symbol, that big, giant black symbol. He's the puppet tier controlling the puppet, Ryan Clark. And so Ryan Clark consistently does things on ESPN to point a finger of blame or increase hostility towards white people in sports, white people in America. And I know that the leftists and the black racial idolaters, what is Whitlock doing? Why is he out here caping up for white people? Doesn't he understand white people are evil? Bob Iger and Disney told me so. Because it's not really an attack on whiteness. It's an attack on a Christian worldview. That's what Ryan Clark, while pretending to be some sort of Christian, that's what his job is, to do things antithetical to Christianity. And so he sits on air and trolls white people. And you're wondering why an employee that's had to issue an apology 3 straight months, how does he keep his job? Unless he's doing exactly what Bob Iger wants done, what Disney wants done. And so there's a little 3-man cabal of leadership at ESPN, starting at the very top. Go check the Stephen A. Smith videos where he talks about Bob Iger and his relationship with Bob Iger. Bob Iger has his black puppets. And it's Stephen A. Smith, and it's a high-end executive named Dave Roberts, and it's Ryan Clark. And their job is to go on air, or to have Ryan Clark go on air, Stephen A. Smith go on air, whoever else they can rope into it, go on air and demonize white people for everything. Let's take a look, or let's take a listen to Ryan Clark's third apology. This is 3 straight months Ryan Clark has had to apologize. He did this yesterday morning or yesterday afternoon, right at the conclusion of our show. We haven't aired this apology yet for Ryan Clark's latest disaster, where he went after Louisiana police erroneously with no information and, did his little racist attack on white police officers in Louisiana. Let's play his latest apology.
To Ryan Clark.
Yeah, so I've never really had much trouble expressing anything. This has been more difficult because I know that people are hurting, right? 2 lives have been lost. Herman Hall, a man who spent his life in service of other, and Kyron Lacey. He's just a young man who I wish I could tell how much he had to live for. My heart absolutely breaks for both of them, their families, and their loved ones. On Monday night's Sports Center, I addressed the horrific car crash that took Mr. Hall's life, and also the subsequent tragic events that led to the death of Kyron Lacey. In full transparency, y'all, I knew Kyron Lacey personally, but nothing matters to me more than the truth. I always strive to do my best to mix authenticity with the most complete and up-to-date information available. I failed to do that on Monday night based on the subsequent evidence that has been released by the Louisiana State Police Department. I set the highest standards of fairness and, most importantly, righteousness in my work. I didn't meet that standard. But since I've spoken to Kyron's representation at length, and I've also reached out to a representative at the state police office just to have a conversation. They informed me this morning that because it's ongoing litigation, they actually can't divulge anything else. It's always important to me that I gather all factual and important information to provide the complete story. That's a responsibility that I do not take lightly. And when discussed in real time on Monday evening, I failed to do so. And for that, I apologize.
So that's Ryan Clark. That's his third apology in the last 3 months. Public on-air apologies in the last 3 months. Let's not forget, he race shamed RG3 over his white wife. He had to apologize for that. Let's not forget, he went after Peter Schrager, white guy that covers the NFL, stellar reputation, can't find anybody that dislikes or doesn't respect Peter Schrager. Longtime Fox Sports reporter, now has moved over to ESPN, is someone that ESPN seems pretty invested in. And Ryan Clark, on air, on camera, called this guy out and said, basically, you don't play, he shamed the guy for not playing and said that, we don't have to take him as seriously. Had to apologize for that. This is 3 times in the last 3 months. There's been no suspension of Ryan Clark. No discipline of Ryan Clark. There's a message being sent. You troll white people, you're all good at Disney. And the real message is, if you attack America's Christian values, you're all good at Disney. That's the Disney Bob Iger is leading. That's the yes, many people are sitting there like, man, this is personal with Whitlock. He's still bitter about his time at ESPN. And I'm not still bitter about my time at ESPN. But my eyes are wide open about what transpired when I was at ESPN. Because the second time, from 2013 to 2015, my eyes are wide open. I understand how I was set up, why. This isn't bitterness, this is just facts. When I went back to ESPN the second time to launch, formulate, build the Undefeated, and all the backlash and red tape and all the obstacles that were thrown in front of me. And never once, I would go to the Disney offices for meetings, but I never once ever met Bob Iger. And then when I read, and this is in 2016, 17, whenever, when they picked a replacement for me after they gathered up my plans and were done with me and pushed me out the door, Kevin Merida replaced me. And I read in an interview where Kevin Merida, one of the first things he did when he got that job was meet with Bob Iger. And that's when a red flag or just like a question or a explanation or lights went off in my head. Like, oh man, I had the job. I was there to formulate, and for 2 years, never met Bob Iger. Because Bob Iger knew exactly who I was. He knew who I was, perhaps better than I knew who I was. Like, that guy doesn't know it. And I'm talking about Bob Iger. Like, that's a hardcore Christian. He's in the infancy of figuring out just how hardcore of a Christian he is. And I'm talking about me. He understands me. He's like, man, we can see his values. We can see the way he writes. We can see the way he talks. He's not on board with all the Black Lives Matter stuff. He's not on board with all the racial idolatry stuff. We're going to bring this guy in, Jason Whitlock, to gather up his information, his instincts, his insight on how we should operate the Undefeated. And then we're going to discard him and throw him in the waste bin of journalism. That was the game plan. And that's why I never met with Bob Iger. Because Bob Iger doesn't meet with hardcore committed Christians. And so that's why he's comfortable with Stephen A. Smith, Ryan Clark, Dave Roberts, and others. Because they're committed to money. They worship mammon. They don't worship God. And I'm sorry for being that judgmental, but I'm just speaking facts. They pay a little false interest. Yeah, I'm a Christian. But look at how they behave. Look at how they use the platforms that they're given. They're not there to protect a Christian, a biblical worldview. They're there to make as much money as they possibly can while doing the bidding of Bob Iger. And this is why I'm hated, because I talk this way. Because I point out that you can't be committed to a religion that hates Jesus Christ, denies Jesus Christ as your personal savior, and then be the best friend, the leader of some sort of Christian movement. Those two worldviews are at odds. And so Ryan Clark, nothing will happen to him. Nothing has happened to him. Bob Iger put him on TV today, one day after his third apology. Think of your own work situation. Whether you work at McDonald's or whether you work at a Fortune 500 company. If within your office you have to make 3 apologies in 3 months, do you keep your job?
If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a moment of Fearless.